Okay, so what happens if you're in Hong Kong as a visitor? Either you've been granted the visa upon arrival, or you've applied for an entry visa before arrival, and you want to apply for an extension to your visitor visa. So generally speaking, first extensions are granted generally without too much of a fuss. They might huff and puff a little bit, but in going through the determination as to whether you're eligible for the first extension, they'll be assessing your bona fides as a visitor. They'll want you to write the reason as to why you need the extension and what's keeping you here. And then generally they'll expect you to give a date by which you're going to complete your visit and then undertake to leave within that time. So if you then need to secure a further extension, the Immigration Department are going to really drill down on why, because obviously at this point you're building up the record with the Immigration Department as to what's keeping you here. So you need a pretty good excuse, pretty good reason. And I say it's very difficult. They do get granted as long as you've kind of like potentially the first extension laid out that there might be the possible need for a further extension. So you got to sort of think strategically about the amount of time that they're going to need to be able to stay in Hong Kong. And generally speaking, the Immigration Department don't give you any longer than that, the limit of stay that you'd be availed if you arrive at the airport, for example, or if you have been granted a visa before arrival with a maximum limits of stay. But they'll always look to see what the reasons are and the justifications are for the extension, and they'll want to see a final date. And then they'll expect you to be departing from Hong Kong come the time for that final date. And then another way, as I alluded earlier, is the Shenzhen shuttle. And that's where long-stay visitors, frequent visitors, will just come and go quickly, day tripping to Macau, up across the boundary into China and back. The Immigration Department call them these folks double backers. And the rule of thumb here is if the immigration officer who's assessing your bona fides upon admission to Hong Kong as a visitor can see that you've spent more than 180 days in a 12-month given period, or it looks as though you, for all practical purposes, been back-to-back in Hong Kong for 180 days. They're going to be assessing, the reasons why you're spending as much time as you are in Hong Kong. There is always the potential for a short conditional landing if the examining officer, can't get to the necessary level of comfort that you're not here breaching your conditions of stay. And I always advise clients, whilst you can kind of realistically get away with it in the normal course of a business visit, or if you're traveling around the region for good reason, and you're seeking to get extensions via this so-called Shenzhen shuttle, you probably would be okay. But to try and adopt this protocol for long stay visits, then it's fraught with difficulty. And short conditional landing very often comes as a nasty surprise. So not recommended, although it is a useful way to perhaps get one or two extensions over, a relatively sort of medium term period of time. So doable, but not recommended.